Hi students, welcome back to this video. We can begin our session with an inspirational quote. Please listen to this. One of the very important characteristics of a student is to question. Let the student ask question. Yes, today's class I wish to talk about the process of digestion. Actually we have started that process and completed up to the esophagus, means the process peristalsis we have completed. Then the remaining part, the digestion from stomach and the small intestine, we have to study today. So as you all know, the process digestion begins from mouth and it ends in the small intestine. But here the beginning of absorption of the nutrients after digestion is also taking place from the small intestine. So we can start with the stomach. The process digestion starts from mouth. The slightly digested food from the mouth reaches to the stomach. Here it reaches to the stomach. Before it reaches to the stomach, it moves through the esophagus. When it moves through the esophagus, there is a wave-like motion of the food that is known as peristalsis. It is known as peristalsis. Then that slightly digested food moves from the mouth through the esophagus and it reaches to the stomach. From the stomach, there is a strong peristalsis is taking place. Because of that, the food changed into a paste form. That paste form formed the food, actually that is partial digestion. So that food materials are acted up by gastric juice. These gastric juice are secreted by the walls of the small intestine. Then, what are the components of the gastric juice? The components of gastric juice I have written here because there is no space to write here. Okay. Then what are the components of gastric juice? It consists of an enzyme. Two enzymes are there. One is pepsin, another one is lipase. Then an acid, hydrochloric acid and mucus. So the components which are present in the gastric juice are two enzymes, pepsin and lipase, and there is an acid, that is hydrochloric acid, then next mucus. What is the role of these enzymes as well as hydrochloric acid and mucus that we can study? We have studied slightly digestion or partial digestion that is done from the mouth with the help of some enzymes. You know, starch is converted into maltose partially. Yes, here in the stomach, the partial digestion of protein is taking place, and also the partial digestion of fat is taking place. Okay, so the enzyme pepsin converts proteins into peptones. Then fat, partial digestion of fat, it is done by the enzyme lipase. Then what is the role of hydrochloric acid? That destroys whatever the germs present in the stomach or present in the food. Then we all have a doubt. This hydrochloric acid is able to dissolve even metals. But it doesn't make any trouble in our stomach. What is the reason? Actually, the hydrochloric acid is produced by oxyntic cells which are present in the stomach wall. Yes. Then the wall of the stomach produces mucus and bicarbonates too. So that, or what is the use of this bicarbonate as well as the mucus? Mucus protects the stomach wall. Then bicarbonates neutralize the acid. Bicarbonates neutralize the acids and mucus protects the stomach wall. So that if the hydrochloric acid is produced in excess, there is no any harm to our stomach. So I think you have understood the process of digestion taking place from the stomach. Then we have studied all the digestive process from the stomach, that is partially, and it is converted into paste form because of the strong peristalsis taking place from the stomach. Yes, this we have an experience. You know, the process digestion in order to complete the process digestion, it takes 4 to 5 hours. In between, if we have a vomiting tendency, you can see the materials which are comes out, the food materials which are comes out during vomiting, it is in the form of paste. You know, it is because of that partial digestion and also that strong peristalsis which is taking place from the stomach, esophagus, etc. Then the food which reaches to the stomach retain for a particular period. It is because in the posterior part of the stomach there are circular muscles present. The action of that circular muscles makes the food or retain the food for a particular period in the stomach. Then after the stomach, you can see the part here, that is duodenum. Actually, that is the beginning of the small intestine. So the food reaches into the duodenum. There also the enzymes produced by the pancreas and some secretions produced by the liver plays major role for digestion. But the complete process of digestion taking place from here. This part is actually known as small intestine. So we can continue the process digestion which is taking place from the duodenum, that is the beginning of the small intestine. The partial digested food from the stomach reaches to the duodenum. Yes, this part is known as the duodenum. Actually, that is the beginning of the small intestine, and the length of the small intestine is 5 to 6 meters in length. Then the beginning of the small intestine is known as duodenum. See the spelling, D-U-O-D-E-N-U-M. Then here you can see the two organs, one is pancreas and the other one is liver. The secretions produced by the liver, that is known as bile, and the secretions or enzymes which are produced by the pancreas are known as pancreatic juice. Yes, all these reaches to the duodenum through a common duct. So what all things? The secretions produced by the liver, that is known as bile, and the pancreatic juice also reaches to the duodenum, and they plays major role for the digestion of food materials. So we can see what is the role of this bile as well as the pancreatic juice, and what are the components of pancreatic juice. Okay, then first of all we can see what is bile. Bile is the secretion produced by the liver, and it does not consist any enzyme. It plays two important roles. First one is the breakdown of fat into simpler particles. Then the other one, the bile, makes the food alkaline. Bile makes the food alkaline. Then next, what are the components of pancreas or pancreatic juice? So in order to understand this portion, I have enlarged here. So you please see this diagram also. So this is the liver. From the liver, bile reaches to the duodenum and pancreas. The pancreatic juice also reaches to the duodenum. Duodenum is the beginning of the small intestine. So here again small intestine comes. If you concentrate this area, you will be able to understand very easily. So what are the components of the pancreatic juice? It consists of enzymes. They are pancreatic amylase, trypsin and pancreatic lipase. There are 3 enzymes are present in the pancreatic juice. They are pancreatic amylase. We have studied salivary amylase that converts starch into maltose partially. But here pancreatic amylase converts starch into maltose completely. Then trypsin, its function is it converts proteins into peptides. Okay. Then pancreatic lipase, the third one, that converts fat into fatty acid and glycerol. You know, fat is a complex structure while the fatty acid and glycerol are the simple structures. Or we can say the end product after the digestion of fat are fatty acid and glycerol. Then what happened to the digested food? Here we can say the complete digestion of fat is over. The remaining part means carbohydrates wants to change into glucose, which means they are the simple form, glucose, fructose, galactose. Then peptides want to change into amino acids because amino acid is the simple unit of protein. So the remaining process, all these are the remaining process. The remaining process are taking place from the small intestine. So we can see what is happening from the small intestine. Complete digestion and the beginning of absorption takes place from the small intestine. So we can see what is the role of intestinal juice for the digestion. We have studied the complete digestion and also the beginning of absorption takes place from the small intestine. Then intestinal juice converts carbohydrates into maltose and lactose. Actually, mainly the carbohydrate which is present in the milk is converted into maltose and lactose, that is taking place from the small intestine. And the sugar, that is completely converted into the simple form. Actually, that is the end product of carbohydrate. They are glucose, fructose and galactose. Then peptides, actually that is that conversion is taking place from the duodenum. So this peptides again wants to change into amino acid because that is the simplest unit of carbohydrate. So conversion of peptides into amino acid is done by intestinal juice that is present in the small intestine. So then one more nutrient. What about the fat? The conversion of fat into fatty acid and glycerol, actually that is the simplest unit of fat. That process is done from the duodenum. So the remaining substances, complete conversion of this glucose, fructose, galactose, amino acid done from the small intestine. So let us see what are the nutrients subjected to digestion. They are carbohydrate, protein and fat. What are the end products? The end product of carbohydrate is glucose, fructose and galactose. End product of protein is amino acid. End product of fat is fatty acid and glycerol. Then after the conversion of all these nutrients, it wants to absorb to the blood. So that is also taking place from the small intestine. Beginning of absorption is also taking place from small intestine, that we can study what is present in the small intestine in order to absorb these nutrients, and what are the processes of absorption that we can study later. Okay children, we have studied the process. Digestion starts from mouth and it ends in the small intestine, and it takes, for this process, it takes complete digestion 4 to 5 hours necessary for the complete digestion for this process. So beginning from the mouth, I think all of you know what all changes are taking place with the help of the enzymes, as well as some secretions or presence of the mucus, what is happening there. Then what is happening from the esophagus, there is a special kind of wave-like movement that is known as peristalsis. Then see the spelling of the word esophagus, O-E. Then here after that, from there it reaches to the stomach. What is happening from the stomach, what all enzymes are present in the stomach, then what is the importance of that strong peristalsis which is taking place from the stomach, etc. we went through. Then next is the part beginning of the small intestine, that is known as the duodenum. From the duodenum, the secretions produced by the liver and the pancreatic juice plays major role. That also we have studied. Then finally it reaches to the small intestine. With the help of this intestinal juice, the simplest components are formed, such as glucose, fructose, galactose and amino acid, and how these end products are produced, etc. We have studied. Then next we have to study what about the absorption of nutrients from the small intestine, as well as what is the role of this large intestine, what is happening to the food from this particular area, that we can study in the next class.